For the audience, thanks for listening to that couple of bits. We got one person viewing already. When you get these set up, it's always like you have to be so particular because it just might not work or go through. You might have to restart it, but we're good to go. We're live right now.
Excellent. So we'll just wait a few minutes to have a few more people join us. It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's a different time for everybody. Usually we do these sessions a little bit earlier in the day, so we're hoping that this works for people a little bit better. I know it's hard to catch business owners, so hopefully this works for a little bit more people.
Yeah, end of the day is kind of nice sometimes. Because then you hit the beginning of the day, you get caught doing things. End of the day, it's like, okay, I got wrapped up for the day. This is the last thing to do. And an important topic. It's something that I think I'm told we're supposed to get some news pretty much right now from the province on some updates. So I can maybe, if I can pull it up on the sides, I can share it with you guys and tell you if it's anything you need to know or talk about maybe, because if it's another lockdown, it's exactly it's what we're here talking about today, is what that effect is going to be on people, like mentally, right?
I just got notification about a half hour, 45 minutes ago that it's postponed, Colton. So they're putting the announcement until tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. That could be good or bad.
Yeah. Tough to say.
I thought maybe it's because they knew we were doing this session.
That's it. They're making room for us.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we've got a pretty good amount of people actually joining. So, Jules, why don't I kind of share about the tech stuff?
Absolutely.
And then I'll give you the intro of our great guests today. So, you guys might be hearing, this is Colt on the side, or you need to slide over. I'll talk from the side here. So, for anyone who's watched our live videos before, you guys have you've seen this arm a lot of times, and me being on the end, getting things queued up from the tech side of things. And I'll let, like I mentioned, Jules will do the introduction of who you got here today to talk. But as a note is that in the comments, please use those to ask questions. So this is my job today, is I'm going to be watching the comments while these three share some great information, and I'll be watching. So if you have any questions or you want someone to elaborate on a certain topic, just post it in the comments, and I'll make a comment there in a moment just so everyone can see how that will look. If there's anything that you'd like to send that maybe is a bit more personal, or you don't want to share it on the live feed, then you can also send us a direct message. So you just go to our Wiegers page, and there should be an option pretty, near the top around our page, which will say send a message. And I have that right in my pocket, so I can always look it up quick, and then I'll let our guests and our speakers know that we have something that you guys want us to talk more about. I'll mention that probably again at the end here, but otherwise I'll leave it to you, Jules, to get us rolling.
Thank you, Colton. So again, welcome to everyone who is tuning in today. What we're talking about today is something that we just keep saying it's a heavy time for a lot of people. And so one of our roles as group benefits consultants is share as much as we know, connect with the people who can help. So I'm joined today by Jaimie Malmgren from the Prairie Chamber of Commerce. And so Jaimie and I and Colton were chatting about, what can we share with the members at this time? What can we share with clients at this time? And what's timely? And so that is mental well-being and how our businesses are doing and coping through all of this. And we both instantly thought of Wendy. Wendy's a Prairie Sky Chamber member, as well as a clinical registered social worker, and she works with children, works with youth, adolescents, works with families, and so we're going to rely on her a little bit to guide us through this, have some good, simple conversations about really what's happening, and the goal of today, I guess, is just to give you little nuggets of information to walk away. I think the first great thing to say is thank you for joining us, because that's a good thing that you're here and you're able to listen about all these, hopefully these good nuggets of information that we will get the opportunity to talk about. And without further ado, I guess I'll let Jaimie kind of touch on, what their members are seeing and where this all fits in.
Yeah, thanks, Jewelian. We deal with businesses every day, and we, interact with our members and are really, try to keep the pulse on what's happening in our community amongst our businesses. And I think having a business normally, in and of itself is somewhat overwhelming. And add a pandemic on top of it, and it can really become very stressful. And this year has been especially tough on business owners at dealing with the uncertainty and the hardship of COVID. And so that was just kind of a message that we were hearing, a recurring message we were hearing from our membership. And part of our role as a chamber is to connect people and to be that resource that, if the business community is needing something, our role is to go out and find it. And so when Julian and Colton and I were discussing kind of what we thought a next topic would be, this one was kind of front and center, because COVID, it impacts so many parts of everybody's lives. If you're a business owner, obviously it's your business, but it also impacts your family and your lifestyle and everything, your health, and so it's an important topic for us to discuss, and anything to help people and help their employers get through this, all the better.
Exactly.
Can I jump in quick?
Sure.
Just want to, this is how live works. We were kind of on the fly adding things in. We just had Matt H said, thanks in advance for providing these nuggets of help and information. And Anya, I believe that'd be how I pronounce her name, just mentioned quick, said, sorry to interrupt. I registered for the webinar. Didn't expect it to be on Facebook Live. Am I in the right place? You are in the right place. Yes.
Thank
you. we do these on Facebook Live so that we can share them out afterwards, so that people who weren't able to tune in at the time of are able to see it later. It works and functions the same as it would a regular webinar in terms of, obviously you can see and hear the speakers, but then we get the comments and the questions through the live feed. So you are in the right place and you don't need to be redirected. So thanks for checking in though.
Perfect. Thanks, Colton. I know that we chatted briefly, the three of us, last week, and the resounding message was, it's a lot. And I feel like everybody everywhere shares that sentiment. It's a lot. And so knowing everything that is happening, I guess I'll kind of throw it to you, Wendy. You are definitely our guest of honor here today. With what you're seeing and the people that you're connecting with on a regular basis, what are some of those common themes that you see come across that that we're all in a way taking part in?
Hey, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I just want to thank you for so much for allowing me to be a part of your busy day today. So we know COVID is affecting everybody, and it's business owners, our families, our children's, like Jaimie said, our lifestyle, everything. And it's really, really hard. I'm seeing the effects across the board. It doesn't matter who you are. It's affecting people, and it's tough to see. Some of the common themes that I'm seeing with business, like, for business owners or families or even the kids, teachers, it's navigating these uncertain times, because they're challenging and they're ever changing. And it's like one day it's this, and then the next day it's this, and that's even hard for everyone to try and keep up with. And most people like routine and things not to change, and this is not routine, and things are changing so quickly. It's unpredictable, it's uncontrollable. So we worry, people that are struggling with this are worrying about what the future will hold. It causes anxiety, fear, worry, what will happen next. There's no end date. Like, we don't have a date where, like, okay, we can last this for 3 more weeks. That's a piece of this.
There's no chance to
get
it and move on.
Yeah, I can get through this, right? People coping with the loneliness, with the self-isolation and social distancing. And I don't like to call it social distancing. I like to call it physical distancing, because we're still able to communicate with people in other avenues. So to take
Yeah.
the social part out of that. Concern about our own health, our family members' health, concern about our financial situation, business, job, loss of the support services we normally rely on. People will see changes in their sleep and eating patterns, difficulty concentrating, and increased irritability. I see that all over the place. Worsening of chronic health conditions, worsening of mental health conditions, increase in tobacco, alcohol, or substances. And many of us are going around in a threat response, fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes.
So we're waiting for the threat to come, but there is actually no real threat right in front of us, but we're frozen, excuse me, stuck in that state, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you find that people, maybe there's none yet, but how do people navigate through that threat response? Like, are there anything that you could share in regards to that?
We need to be making sure that we're allowing time to, and I'll talk about this possibly later, but pausing and being present right in the moment. Just letting everything go, just be right here, right now, using your sensory. What do you see? What do you hear? Just getting yourself down in a regulated state so that your body and your nervous system can just be in a calm place and grounded. If we stay up in that threat mode all the time, you'll see the irritability and people not coping well. So it's important to use that. There's lots of phone apps where you can actually utilize that, like there's Breathe and Calm and Mind Shift, lots of them that have those if you want to look at that to try and orientate how to do it.
Yeah. And one thing too that I feel, we're almost at the end of the year, and something that a lot of business owners are coming to terms with is it's been 8 months, and it's been a long time. And some people, I think that, yeah, we're still in potentially that fright mode, that fear mode. And that can be really hard for businesses long term. And, my mindset automatically shifts to the employees. Our role as benefits advisors, we're working with business owners and, wanting to help them with their employees. And so I know when we chatted last week, that was something that I shared. There are a lot of employees that feel that they are maybe unsafe. There's that constant fear of, like workplace, like what can happen in a workplace. And so I wonder, like, what are some of your comments there potentially, how employers can work through that?
So working with their employees, is that what you're?
Yeah. If there's, some solid ways to help navigate through that.
So it's well, also for the business owners, I've got strategies, for them and how they can cope.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're coping with your employees, it's going to be different. It's going to be out of the box, and it might be a good avenue to continue after, because you're going to work on creating relationships. You're going to build trust with your team. You create your team connection with your employees. Encouraging participation in like some of the decision-making process, which helps the employees feel like they don't think that we don't have any control in. Being specific. Staff feel safer if you provide detailed information, so they're not just wondering what's going on. Again, it's that control piece. Respecting privacy, so not sharing, with other employees. We're keeping, which I know every business owner would be doing, is just keeping that privacy of one employer to another employer, or employee to employee, sorry. Educate the employees, because just because we get it doesn't mean that all the staff is going to get it. So making sure that they understand and that they feel that they're safe and that they're part of the team. Being positive, creating a morale boosting. This is huge, needs to be done everywhere. We need to laugh. We need to be connected, and we need to have relationships. I can't say that enough. That's huge.
We do need to laugh. It's very important. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I don't know if I maybe just speak for myself, but I actually rely on my coworkers. to make me laugh in the run of a day, you know, and we're missing that a little bit.
Yeah.
Colton is here, but he's masked, he's far away. And so, you know, a lot of us are missing that social aspect. And, you know, yes, I think that's a wonderful thing to mention, that employers, I guess, have a little bit of that maybe unbeknownst responsibility to provide that social atmosphere and laugh. Something as little as a laugh can really change someone's day and their work environment. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I think that's really important, and I can speak for myself. I do miss that a lot here.
I also liked Wendy about you know, providing detail, and I think communication is key in a workplace in the times that we're finding ourselves in, because people want to know. That's what they want answers. And I mean, I know you can't always provide them, but I think just having that communication, what you're thinking, you know, what you're planning on doing, and that buy-in from your employees, letting them, if they have different ideas, things that they're comfortable, you know, doing, then I think that's also very, very important to have in a workplace. And we're encouraging that. In conversations that we've been having with our members, a lot of employers don't know what to do. And it's like, have conversations with your staff and do what works for the environment that you're in.
Yeah. One other thing I know that Wendy, you'd mentioned was I have some notes, I guess. I'll refer to some notes, and talking a bit about the I Love Lucy scene. Yeah, I was wondering if you could maybe share that and kind of give some context, because I think it was a really good way for us to understand that need to pause.
So it's hitting that pause button and just being present and just regrouping, and just looking out of the box. What do I need? What can I do? Like getting my body feeling more grounded. So I kind of used an example of where lots of people thrive in high demanding, stressful situations. But the key is to have some control what you're doing to it, right? So an example is that infamous I Love Lucy scene when Lucy and Ethel go to work in the chocolate factory and get totally overwhelmed on the assembly line. They can't keep up with the pace of the chocolates coming, and they start throwing them over their shoulders and down their shirts, and they're eating them, which I think is okay. But if they had a pause button, stepped back from what was going on and regulated their body, and then picked up again at maybe a high pace, but maybe have some other ideas in there how this might work a little better. Yeah. Pausing is so important. And if you hit the pause button, it'll differ from person to person, but giving yourself the freedom to do so is vital. I always say that unless someone's got a gun there with you, you can hit the pause button. Otherwise, yeah.
And I think that's so important, whether you are a business owner, whether you are an employee, if you are a grandparent, you know, there are so many things. And I think that is something, if anything you take from listening to us talk, I think that is probably one of the biggest things is to pause. We're fortunate here that we do have that ability to pause. I hope I don't, out anybody here, but, we as an organization really encourage taking 5-10 minutes as an employee and breathing and, doing a breathing exercise. One of our colleagues does that with our team virtually, which is amazing. And we're able to do that. We're able to check out for 5 minutes and take a pause to really go on with our day. And I mean, 5 minutes is 5 minutes well spent if it's something like that you're doing. And I mean, the pause could be 5 minutes, or it could be an extra day off. It's one of those things. And right now I feel like a lot of individuals are feeling that there's so much out there, and being able to pause, I think, is something that we all should take advantage of. But yeah, so thanks for sharing that. That was a good story. One we can certainly relate to, I feel.
I just wanted to add a little bit too to that. I know in my role, just having to be staying informed as to what's happening with COVID, especially pertaining to businesses, that I think it's important to, sometimes you just have to turn the news off. You have to turn the TV off. You have to turn that outside noise off. And maybe it's throwing a Hallmark movie on or a Christmas movie or something that's just really light, I think is important too. And something that works for me, right? Just turning that outside noise off and spending time with your family, going outside for a walk or getting some fresh air, especially with the nice weather that we've been experiencing the last few days.
Yeah, definitely. I know a simple walk can do wonders for people, and that is certainly something most people probably don't do if they're working from home. Yeah, encourage people to get out and do those simple things. Wendy, I know that you had shared with Jaimie and I kind of prior to our chat, like some key things that you wanted to touch on. You have one here that I want to ask you. You say, take the time to be grateful. And I know that is probably a loaded word right now, with so much uncertainty with businesses and employees, but taking the time to be grateful. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and how this could happen, or how this could really work during this time for those individuals?
Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I did.
Bit, so I'm not sure where you ended on there.
I just had noted here that you shared with us, a tip, and it was take time to be grateful. And I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit, because it is hard right now, maybe in a lot of ways, to be grateful. Whether you're a grateful person genuinely, but I think that's something that could really, really help. Just being simply grateful.
So being grateful, and it's also trying to train your brain towards the positive as well. Being grateful so that we're looking at what's going well and keeping that focus in our mind, so that we're looking at, again, regulating our body. So if we're being grateful, we're looking at the things that are going well, what things that we're thankful for having in our lives, and not keeping all that focus on what's not going well and what ifs, what if this, what if that. And I'm just going to go back to what Jaimie had said about, pick how much you're reading and listening about COVID, and then shut it off and get your places from factual places that, and you don't need to be listening to it all the time. And that includes your body needs, your nervous system needs a break from that. So going back to the grateful part is just, I remember having the sign as a school counselor on the door is, today was a good day because ... So that when they're going out the door, they're thinking, why was today a good day? Instead of focusing on what went well, that test or a teacher was a little bit irritated with me, we're focusing on what's going well, our families that we're connected to, the health that we do have, the roof over our heads, just so many different things that we can be grateful. And that's going to differ from person to person, but it helps also train that brain into that positivity path. And when you're in that kind of sense, your body's going to feel more regulated, more calm, versus stuck in that threat mode if we're staying with what's going on and what ifs.
And that's where a person would probably say, take a deep breath. If you're stuck in that moment, take 3 deep breaths and kind of regroup yourself a little bit, taking those breaths.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a quick question.
Sorry, it was cutting out again if you're asking something.
I'll jump in quick here. We'll do kind of a mid-presentation update on comments. They love you guys.
Thank you to whoever said that. That's great.
And also to Wendy, I know that the odd time it kind of crackles out, but I'll let you guys know if anything isn't hearable, but usually it comes back in a couple seconds. So just people saying Thanks for the presentation. Looking forward to it. The presentation's a godsend. Someone saying, feeling all of this, you know, just the conversation that was going on. Love the Lucy example. So true. As well as the Christmas movies. Someone was talking to me about that recently too. Just the idea that just watch something wholesome. There's a lot of bad things going on. Just watch something just nice and wholesome. Gets you in that mood. And a question we had from Matt. Matt says, did Wendy recommend the Calm app and another breath app or breathe app? Not entirely familiar with those apps. Just wanted to double check if that was the case, and that knowing that is an app that could help one's mental health to pause. So was it, or did they have a specific name, or was it just called Calm? If they were to look in the Play Store on their phone, they could find it pretty easily.
Yeah, it's in the, I have a reference page here too for when to know when to reach out and get help. And there's a bunch of things on the reference form. And I believe that it's going to be sent out to everybody that's participating today and maybe posted somewhere. It's got a list of all the different apps that I've kind of put on there. And there's a few. One is called Breathe. And there's one called Breathe to Relax, Calm, Happify. There's a whole pile of them that you can access and find what works best for you. Yeah, that's my best advice with that. So just check out what you feel works for you. And I found them so helpful, so helpful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And something I will also share too, for those of you that are watching that have group benefit plans, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that. I would encourage you also to look into your group benefit provider. There could be resources similar to these apps that Wendy has shared, that there could potentially be built-in services there as well. You know, we were talking about communication, and that's where I would say definitely check in there and look into that information, because I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised as to the information that you can access and the resources that might be tapped into there. But yes, the information that Wendy has shared with our team, we will certainly send that out after to those that have registered, the resource page, as well as her apps that she suggested. So we'll certainly give that information and make sure it's available to those that would like that information, because one app could be a lifesaver. That's the reality is, you know, I'll willingly share, like, I have used the Breathe app before, and it was really nice actually, you know, to help with those 5-minute breath exercises. And I don't know, it's interesting. It's those little things that can make the difference, and who doesn't have a phone in their hand nowadays? So definitely I would recommend, yeah, looking into that, or again, connecting with your provider and seeing if there's a built-in tool there too, because we do see it from time to time. Something else that I know that we were definitely hoping to kind of touch on is business owners and their responsibility, of course, for their business, but what about parenting during all this time? I know that Jaimie shaking your head, yes, like parenting is a tough one. And I know that, you know, business owners wear many hats. They absolutely do. And I know you've got some good tips here, Wendy, to share about that, but what can they do during this time to get through?
Okay. As business owners and parents, we face so many challenges that are going on. That includes, you know, thinking about possible school closures and childcare, you know, facility shortages, and the increase in necessity to provide adequate and sometimes constant care with educational support, which is hard. And I'm going to say that I have teachers as friends, and they say, I can't teach my own child. So I've met community members, and they're going, I could never be a teacher. I can't teach them. And I said, well, there's teachers who can't teach their own children too. So take that in with a grain of salt. It's very, very hard. these demands, like with the new realities of, remote work environments and like our professional obligations, day-to-day work and all that, need to have support measures and workplace flexibility. But if you're at home parenting and you're also having to work, be creative with your office space. Most people know that you're working and you're parenting at the same time, especially if the schools start to close or the daycare facilities aren't, there's not enough space. Set up virtual babysitters. I know some people that have done this and it's worked with the kids and the other person's kids and relatives. It's like I said, it's physical distancing. It doesn't have to be that whole social part. There's so many different avenues and you need to look out of the box to just find something new. Stress less about the screen time. No, we don't want the kids on the screen time all the time, but during this, if you need to utilize that and don't carry guilt with that. It's tough times. So we have to utilize all the tools in our toolbox. Reward good behavior with your kids so that, I know that a lot of kids, they respond, if they're getting lots of negative, they're going to respond to that. If you're giving them lots of positives, they're going to respond to that. So make sure you're letting them know where they're doing a good job and how it's making you feel. Communicate a family plan. That's really important too. I think it's important for kids need that routine and they know what to expect. They love that schedule on the board at school because they know what to expect, when to expect it. A family plan, if you can keep things as routine as much as you can with some consistency, it's going to really, really help everyone in the family unit. And swap in and out with your partner. We can't all do it alone. And I know some of us don't always have the luxury of that. If we're a single parent, that's where letting go of that screen time and taking some time for yourself, hitting the pause button. And remember, enjoy your kids.
Something as little as enjoying your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've got a quick comment that was kind of a question. No, first of all, this was a hot one. This has got some feedback immediately of people. Someone saying I'm a first-time mom. I had my son right during COVID. Struggle is real when it comes to kids at home. The iPad is the babysitter sometimes. And Maria mentioned, she just had a comment, but I thought I'd ask if you had anything to elaborate on it, Wendy, she said parenting and also caring for a senior. So would you have any insight or tips as it relates to some folks that are taking care of, a parent rather than a kid?
A lot of the same avenues also fit in with the senior, but also reaching out and if checking what resources are out there that are available to help you when you're caring for a child or a senior. You can reach out to me anytime and I will do some digging. And there's so many great resources out there that some people don't know about. And we access those when we can. Everybody needs help. So if there's anything out there that we can utilize and bring in to help out that unit that's trying to, there's children, there's seniors, there's, you're trying to work, you're, single parent, there's so many roadblocks and walls that get set up, but there's lots of resources out there that, just you can shoot me an email or call me and I will help dig and find some of those for you.
I read something recently. It was in the paper, I think, even last week. And it was for seniors, and forgive me, I can't think of the exact name, but it was a program where they could set up and have phone calls with people. And something as little as that, so it was in the news, and like I said, I can't feel like if you remember the program. I want to say it was maybe even put on through the Red Cross, but like I said, don't quote me on that, but there is that program that's designated for seniors to just simply have a phone buddy. And I think that is something, worth noting, certainly whoever, I'm sorry, I forget the name who asked the question, but maybe that's something that you could tap into for the seniors in your life that, could maybe use a phone buddy. Most of us nowadays probably aren't on the phone. We're either FaceTiming or texting, but maybe they're more of that generation where they prefer a phone call. So that was something I thought I'd share that I read last week, actually, that could potentially help.
It's interesting you said that, Julian, because I have some friends that have younger children, and they've been doing like virtual play dates, and setting up where they'll have similar activities. So they'll do it, virtually over FaceTime or something. And, you could do something like that with a senior as well, right? Different activities or what have you, play a game, cards or something. I don't know. But there are some really, people are getting very creative with ways to interact with still being physically distanced.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note. And thanks, Wendy, for saying that, because you're absolutely right. We're physically distanced, kind of socially distanced, but there is still there's so many ways to stay connected. And the resources, there are many out there, and you shared, you would touch on a few of those, and we'll certainly send that out after. But the reality is we're not alone. No one is really alone in this. We're all going through the same thing in some capacity. And knowing that there is a little thing called a telephone that has been here for so long that isn't going anywhere is something so simple to remind ourselves of, that you could easily pick up the phone and call whoever. I'll share that I've talked to people that I haven't talked to in years, and it was wonderful. Something as little as connecting that way. I think too, we might be forced a little bit out of our comfort zones, where we would rely on time. We've got time, but I think people are thinking differently now. Do you guys see that too? People are just thinking differently.
I think our lives have slowed down so much. A lot of the hustle and bustle of, running kids to activities and, whatever it is, our lives have slowed down, and it's kind of opened up opportunity to do things that maybe we always said, well, we don't have time for that, or right. And now you're looking to those things, making a call to a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, or whatever else it might be. But yeah, I think it's just that our lives have slowed down a little bit. And yeah.
Do you have a question?
Couple of quick comments. Maria said thank you, or she said awesome for the tips on seniors. Tanya mentioned Messenger Kids is amazing for keeping kids in touch with their friends and family. Allows for video chats, texting, and all kinds of kid-friendly fun. Oldest son would have had a much harder time being away from his friends without it. So they said Messenger Kids. I'm guessing that's Facebook Messenger for kids.
I've never heard of that. That's God. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Yeah. Perfect.
And something that I just want to mention too, and we're seeing it through the conversation that we're having today, is don't be afraid to reach out to a friend and have a conversation. Or if you're a business owner, reaching out to another business owner. I mean, we do at the chamber lots of roundtable discussions through Zoom now. And, you might think that you're alone in some of your challenges, but guaranteed there are other people out there that are going through the exact same thing. And oftentimes, just what we're seeing now, they have different suggestions and strategies on how to maybe lessen your stress. I never knew about Messenger Kids, but hopefully, some people will find that useful. But I know even as business owners, sometimes, especially with the increase and the demand to go digital, where some business owners, didn't have an online or e-commerce platform or anything like that, or whatever the issue might be, they got lots of tips from other business owners and business owners offering, to help out. Well, I'll come over and I'll walk you through the steps. And so there's that network out there. And I think people are really, really wanting to help each other out through this, which is fantastic to see.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I read an article last week that said, if you don't know what to do during this time, one of the best things is just any kind of act of service. And so whether it's helping your you know, a fellow colleague or a business partner, or, you know, another parent from your child's school, doing some type of act of giving, you know, a service of giving, that helps you. And I know that something we haven't talked about is control. You know, a lot of people don't have that sense of control right now. And so if there's something you can control, then there's a lot in that. And so I feel like that's something really worth noting is, you know, a simple act of service, of giving during this time can really go a long way to just to help yourself up here too, and to help, of course, like your fellow friend or colleague, whomever. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like the sense of community has really come out at this time. It's interesting to see how many people have come to the table. You know, we are big proponents of supporting community, always have been, but it's amazing when you sit back and you see how much actually has been done by your fellow people in the community. It's quite remarkable. So I find that that's something, when I read that last week, it really hit home. I was like, they're right. you know, if I were to make a donation even to a local charity, you know, I feel like I've done something throughout this time, and that impacts me up here. You know, I felt good about it, and it was something that I could walk away with and feel good about it, even if it was, you know, $5, $10. It was something, any act of help or giving or that kind of thing. So yeah. Any other questions?
Nope, all good for questions.
Perfect.
I guess Matt did make a comment at our office, but you probably had touched on it about EAPs and employee and family assistance programs through work. Have you talked about that a little bit, or were you going to say that?
No, I guess I did touch on it a little bit, that yeah, there are certainly within your benefit plans, for those of you that have benefit plans and coverage, employee assistance plans are really a good way to have a source of someone to talk to. You know, I'm not sure if yourself, Wendy, you work with EAP providers directly, but this is where Wendy comes in. You know, this is where having someone to talk to is, it's that outlet. Everybody needs an outlet, and so an EAP is going to be one of those outlets. And then on the other end of that EAP, yes, is someone like Wendy. And so we would hope that if there is anything that someone would want to connect that route to. Jaimie, have you? Sorry,
I have a question for Wendy, if it's okay. You know, we talk a lot about taking care of ourselves, and what recommendations would you have if you're an employer and maybe you see your staff really struggling? Or like, are there tools to recognize individuals that maybe are struggling with mental health or stress or anything like that you can provide some pointers on?
Oh, she might have froze a little.
Did you hear the question, Wendy?
Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Sorry about that. Yeah.
You can hear me now?
Now you're frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there you go.
There. Okay. I just wanted to know, you know, we talk a lot about self-care, but do you have any pointers for employers or employees or friends or family or whatever on how to recognize, you know, if somebody is struggling with stress or mental health? Sometimes you don't see it in yourself, but other people can recognize it. So I was just wondering if you had any tips for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's having that good communication connection so that, you know, your employers do feel open to come and say, hey, I'm struggling. And, you know, building that team so that each employee can feel like I can connect to other employees, having that time to talk so that you can actually, you know, just kind of observe and see how you think that they're doing, and let them know that it's okay if they're struggling. Let them know that that is okay. Let's look at what you need and what kind of tools or possibly other resources that we can pull in. But I think especially during this time, it's important that, you know, it's It's taking that time to notice each other and time to talk and time to share if you're having a hard time, and not feeling like you have to, you know, carry on and just be and do. That's why we're all part of that team, and needing to support each other. So as an employer, letting them know that they can come and be open about that, and that you're there to listen, and that we can find the resources, what they need.
Thank you.
To kind of go off Jamie's question a bit, are there any, I guess, direct signs in an individual that to an employer, to a family member, that you might suggest that someone take that next step and reach out to whoever they feel most comfortable reaching out to get a little help with their mental well-being during this time? Like, what are those maybe few key things?
Okay, so it's important for people to know that, like, many people are struggling with the mental health difficulties, and trying to find tools and tips on how to manage. And it's a normal and an expected response in this time to struggle with some mental health difficulties. Sometimes, though, even after trying our strategies and tips, we may continue to struggle. And that's, in these cases, we want to reach out for additional, you know, mental health support. Some signs that employers might notice is just a physical observation of their employees. They know them quite not well, and if they can see that they look like they're really struggling, like noticing they're not eating a lot when they're in that, you know, staff room, everybody's together. They can see where maybe there's a little more ability, and people are, you know, having trouble with, you know, coworker relationships. There's also increased feelings of sadness or worrying, and having that open line of communication so that that employee can come and say, hey, this is kind of what's going on, especially with, you know, if your children at home and the childcare is not as accessible. There's so many worries that come into things right now, and not hesitating to connect with these support systems. The employer can reach out to any one of us to find the resources, and I'm more to that. If people want to reach out to find more resources for the employees. People are starting to use substances more, and they're experience a loss of control over the amount and frequency. They're continuing to use substances even if there's negative consequences, and there's a craving and a feeling of a compulsion to use these substances more. These are things that employers can watch for and be open to allowing the employee to share without judgment, right? That we're going to get the help that you need, and there's lots of resources out there.
That's great. Yeah, there's a reality, I think, too, that you can't leave it at work and you can't leave it at home. You know, this is something that is with us all the time. And I think it's only natural that this type of thing that we're all dealing with will creep into the work environment. I think that's something that is happening already for sure. And so knowing as an employer those kind of few key signs that that you can check in on your team and check in on your employee and make sure they're doing okay, and then take that next step, even to refer a service. You know, I mentioned EAPs, and I mentioned that there's a lot built into your plans potentially that could help. I think that's definitely worth something sharing now, that there's no separation. You know, it's creeping into the workplace, it's at home, it's everywhere. And so that, again, I'll say it again, that pause, you know, it's so important. You know, give yourself the time, and whatever way that looks for you, you know, taking that time. Yeah, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
As we head into, you know, we're a month away from Christmas, and a lot of people are getting, I guess, a little nervous with the uncertainty as to how they'll be able to gather, if they won't be able to be with their families. Do you have any insight on that, or any suggestions on how people can cope with, you know, potentially a very different holiday season?
That's a great question. And it looks more and more like that might be what's going on. I think, again, we need to look out of the box and do things differently. We can, your families may not be able to be together in one place, but getting everybody on the computer in their own places and do something like this with Zoom, you have your meal, everybody's got their meals, but you're together kind of enjoying it. It's kind of not what you'd want, like right in person, but it works. I've seen it done. I've seen it done with different celebrations with different families, and it's a really great way to at least keep the connection there and having each family, and it's kind of neat to see what likely to be a lot of fun. And is that saying it replaces it? No, it doesn't replace it, but it's definitely things that we look out of the box and we do differently so that we can keep the connections, our relationships, and just making sure that we're doing the best we can during the holiday season.
Perfect. We are getting just a little bit close to 4. And I feel like we could talk for days, but unfortunately we cannot. But I just thought I would maybe ask you, Wendy, if there's any final nuggets of information that you would like to share with those that are watching or who will watch later to really help them during this time.
Yeah, there is. I'd like to just talk, a little bit about our, the business owners and the employees, but just knowing that this is a time that's really difficult and taking control of where you can. That's really, really important. Getting control in the areas that you can find, that you can have that piece of control. Regain that sense of balance. Create new communication routines. There's so many different avenues now. Network with other business owners. People have different ideas of what they're doing that I know I'm that kind of person that I don't see out of the box really well. And when someone mentions something, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Do you mind if I use that? It's just great ways to figure out different avenues to do business, to deliver your service, right? So things that are in your control. Rework your budget forecast, month to month, so you're not looking too far ahead, right? We want to stay present. It's all about that pause and staying present where we are, right here, right now. Don't go too far ahead. This isn't going to be forever. And like I said, hit that pause button, being transparent with your work team, so that everybody's on the same page. You're working together, right, for the same goal. Seek support if you need to. Practice that self-care, making sure that you're orientating to things that bring you joy. Go sliding with the kids, go build a snowman, do a project, do a puzzle, like anything that's going to bring you joy, orientate towards joy. That's regulation of the body as well. And we need to bring as much joy in as we can and take time to be grateful. Write it out if you need to. Go back to it. When you're feeling things really hard, go back to that list of being grateful and just look at those things, bring it back in, and find someone that you laugh a lot with, because I think laughing is the most amazing therapy. I love to laugh. So find that person that you laugh with and go there and be present with it. Take it all in and know that you're not alone. There's lots of people here for you.
Thank you.
So I just want to jump in here quick. So like Jules mentioned, we're nearing the end. I'll do a couple of, let's call it the tech housekeeping. I'll read a question and then I'll let Jules wrap it up. So if I put this in the comments, if you would like the apps and resources and information that Wendy has been talking about, we'll have your info if you registered. If you didn't register, please comment and we'll send you a message and make sure we get it to you. We're just assuming that everyone watching has registered, but if you have not or you're not sure, just comment so we don't miss you when we send that out, or send us a message if you don't get it in the end. And then we do have one other question here, and then I'll leave it as we answer this one. We'll maybe get to 1 or 2 more if the time permits, so comment them now if you're right. The question says, how to cope when somebody doesn't agree with your own beliefs and rules you're following, laughing at them, not respecting your safe zone ideas. So differing, I guess, thoughts on how to be safe during COVID, how to cope with that. Maybe it's people you know or work with or something like that.
I think that's a really, really great question, because there are so many differing opinions on what people believe and want to do. You need to do what is in your control and what you believe in your family unit. And we don't own other people's opinions, and we don't have to own how they feel about it. That's theirs to own. So continuing doing what you feel is safe for you, for your family, and what's going to make sure that you have that sense of balance is so important. So we don't bring in that other stuff if we don't need to. We don't need to own it. It's not in our control. And that's also and that's a good point about reading social media, areas like that, where people got so many negative comments to what your belief is we need to remove ourselves from that stuff and not be so in depth. Get back present where you are, what you're doing, and be confident in what you're doing to keep yourself and your family safe, and know what you're doing is right and okay. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Perfect. Were there any other questions?
Not that I can see. We have someone that flipped in there. Were you looking to mention it? You just wanted to cut it. Okay. I didn't know if you had a message or something.
We have a special guest.
We're keeping distance. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I guess if we don't have any more questions, Jaimie, I guess I'll ask you if you have anything to add or that you'd like to share.
I just want to thank Wendy for offering her, expertise in this topic. And it's a really challenging time for everyone. And I think even if we can just walk away with one little piece of nugget of information that we can try, that maybe we haven't, that's great. And, I think everybody just needs to, they just need to kind of, it's a crazy time right now, and it's okay if you don't feel 100%, because there's a lot going on. So, give yourself a little reprieve.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Wendy. Definitely appreciate you taking the time to share. As we mentioned, we'll be sure to send out the resources. And again, I can't thank you enough for touching on all these things that we're feeling. We're all feeling it. And I guess I will sign off and just say, be kind to one another. It's a hard time. And so I think that if anything, your mental well-being, if you can be kind, it'll be a little bit easier in the long run. So thank you both. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you to those that tuned in. And ultimately, we just hope that you got some information to take away, but connect with us at any time if we can help. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.